Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the very first episode of the YouTube channel and podcast, The Intolerant Humanist, where we are intolerant of intolerance. I'm your host, Ethan Lawless, and coming from TikTok and Facebook and Instagram, I am an anti-theist and atheist. Everybody knows me that way, and I'm a little fucking aggressive about it. On this episode, or on this podcast, the general discussion is going to be about things that consequences that society suffers as a result of tolerating religion. These things can range from the discussion of sex to education, politics, and a lot of other topics for discussion. Today's episode is going to be specifically about sex. How religious culture has infected the sex lives of Americans. The idea that sex is sacred, that should only be between a man and a woman and only for the purposes of procreation. When, actually, all of our medical science and psychology science tells us that sex and masturbation are healthy for us. It improves blood pressure, relieves stress, releases endorphins. In so many ways, sex and masturbation are healthy. Yet the church would have you convinced that giving in to your human needs, your desires, earthly desire for gratification, the religion, Christianity, would have you believe that these are evil. They make you a sinner. Well, and in fact, the burden of proof falling on Christians to prove that sin is a thing and that any of us should give a fuck still hasn't been met. That burden of proof is still not met. So, moving on from that part of it, let's get into the discussion of purity culture. The shaming of people who enjoy sex. Whether that be sex workers, whether that be people who have multiple partners or polyamorous partners, whether that's gay people, lesbian people, non-binary, transgender, whatever the case may be. Purity culture is a problem. You know, people grow up and they have dysfunctional sex lives. They can't function in relationships at all because of this emotional and mental abuse that the church puts you through at a young age. The idea that sex is sacred, I mean, seriously, really? Of all the things that's going to be sacred, getting down, you know, with like the horizontal mambo, that's the thing that's going to be sacred? Come on. Absolutely not. Sex is arbitrary. When I was born in 1982, the world's population was 5.5 billion-ish. Today, it's creeping up on 8 billion. We don't treat sex like it's sacred. Not even a little bit. But we Christians love to pretend that it is. And so, as a consequence of that, you get purity culture. And inside of purity culture, women are shamed more than men. If a woman is promiscuous, she is shamed for it. If a man is promiscuous, he is actually celebrated for it. Now, I don't have to explain how that's a bad thing. The double standard is real. I'm not making I don't want to generalize all relationships, but I'm willing to bet that, and I haven't done the research on this, this is just my opinion. Take it for what it is. I'm sure there is research out there that shows it. But from what I understand, people that save themselves for marriage end up really unhappy in their marriage. Their sex lives are terrible because into the beginning of it, nobody knew what the fuck they were doing. They had no idea how to have sex. You know, they may have watched a porn. Well, that doesn't really show how sex works. You know, obviously porn is unrealistic. So the guy watched porn when he was a teenager at some point and decided, yep, that's what sex is. And then the experience is absolutely horrendous for the woman. Could be painful. Every single time she has sex with her husband, it could be painful. So now she starts to associate negativity with sex. And even if that marriage breaks up, the next relationship she gets into, she's going to fear sex. It's going to be an emotional strain on her. It's going to be a social strain on her. Same could be said for men. They could have a bad sexual experience. Maybe they feel they don't measure up. But they've been shamed by their religion to not ask for help, to not try to seek out education, to be a better lover, because it's sacred. You take, for instance, one way that religion perverts sex in a social kind of aspect, a direct consequence of religion, was recently, a month ago, 2 months ago, there was a shooter down in Atlanta, Georgia, who shot several Asian women. Now, I do believe that it was discovered that this young man was not a racist. Not at all. His religion had convinced him that his sexual desires were evil, and it made him a sinner. And obviously, this is a natural instinct for humanity. Having a sexual desire is a natural instinct. It's not something you can just get rid of. When he went to kill those women, that was his effort to destroy his sexual desire for them. You see how toxic this is? Christianity demands that you be anything but who you are. It tells you not to give in to your instincts, the things that make you human, and that is disgusting. I don't have to dive into detail for you to understand the psychological and emotional and physical damage to you as an individual that comes from that way of thinking. A little bit further into the purity culture, the shaming of women for being promiscuous, another problem that arises, and we've seen it on the political end of things from the conservative Christians and Republicans, is a desire to ban things like abortion, sex education, and contraceptive care for women. The abortion battle is... It's a lesson we should have already learned. We tried banning alcohol during Prohibition and drugs during the drug war. And those bans did absolutely nothing to stop the usage of those products. If anything, it drove those usages higher. A ban on abortion will do nothing to stop abortion. All it's going to do is make problems for us socially, economically speaking, for real. Now, we can also limit abortions. We know how to do that, but Christians won't go for that either. Christian conservatives don't want sex education in public schools. They want abstinence-only sex education, which, leads to higher teen pregnancy rates and subsequent higher abortion rates. They want to ban they want to limit contraceptive care for women, but we know that increases abortion rates because it increases unwanted pregnancies. Look, conservative Christians are trying to create a theocracy. What they want, and this is very obvious, they want a theocracy, a Christian theocracy. They want to make sure that the only time you're having sex is when you're married to the opposite sex, and for the pure purpose of procreation, and that is it. They do not want us to have sex for enjoyment. They don't want to allow us to have same-sex couples that have sex. They want a theocracy, a Christian authoritarian government. That's what they want. And you can look this up for yourself. It's called Project Blitz. They gave it a name. They want to systematically create policies and laws that create a theocracy in America. That's the Christian conservative narrative. That's where they want to go with it. Well, the best thing for a government, for a country, the best thing for a country is a well-educated populace. And yet, in the last 50 years, our education has taken a complete dive. Mostly due to religion and greed. People in power don't want an educated populace. Because as soon as you become educated, you realize how badly you're being fucked and you know how to work your way out of it. Anyway, the impact of Christianity's archaic and antiquated worldview about sex touches nearly all of our social inequities, especially regarding women. The impact religion has society is excessively bad. From sex ed, healthcare, social expectations, politics, you name it. You're not even aware, in most cases, of the fact that religion has an impact on your sex life. Well, I am here to tell you that if you were raised even liberally Christian as a child, it has impacted your relationships. It has impacted your sex life. It's impacted your mental health, your emotional health, and your growth as a human being. Well, that's it for episode 1. It's really short right now. A couple of announcements really quick because, this is... I'm going to start citing sources in these. I'm going to try... I don't have a script together for this episode. I'm going to have a script for episode 2. And I'm going to have sources that, for articles that you can go and read. I will be able to cite them. The reason I didn't cite any sources in this one is because it's a really easy way. It's really easy to research this. A cursory Google search will bring up the health benefits of sex. It'll bring up a cursory Google search will show you how damaging purity culture is, how the negative impacts that religion has on relationships, and including sexual relationships. So I didn't need to cite really any sources in this episode. The editing of this, as another announcement, it's going to take me some time, but eventually I will get better equipment, better camera, better microphone, better computer to do all this stuff, and I will make better content. For now, this is what I have, so I'm just doing the best with that. Anyway, if you find my content worth anything, I was an Uber Lyft driver. I am not now because I had to return my friend's car back to him. He needed it for his girls to go to school, and so I am without a vehicle. Renting a vehicle is not an option. It's way too expensive, especially here in Phoenix where rentals are few and far between. So I have fundraisers up. GoFundMe, and also a Facebook fundraiser, as well as a PayPal account, Venmo, and Cash App. And if you feel that you feel you want to donate because you think this content is going to it's going to be good, it's worth something, please let me know in the comment section and I will give you whatever information you need. Again, I want to thank you guys for watching. You can follow me on you can like and subscribe here on YouTube. I'm going to post this podcast to the web, so I will let you know in probably the next 2 episodes or so where you can see the podcast. If it's going to be on iTunes or wherever, I'll let you know. And that should be it. Anyway, thank you guys for watching. I hope you enjoyed this starter episode. And have a good weekend.